Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome back to the model railway news, this time of course for October. And this month there have actually been some brand new products announced, which is very exciting, so stay tuned for those. First of all though, there are some nice updates on the latest edition of the Hornby engine shed. First of all, a bit of an update on the LMS and LSWR 20 and 24 tonne brake vans, which are due to be released in November. We've actually got photos of the first few painted samples of those, which are looking pretty excellent, and the piece on the engine shed actually goes into quite a lot of detail on the actual design process of those, and it does make quite an interesting read. So if you want to check that out, head over to Hornby's engine shed blog and read it for yourself. There are also a few other samples to see on there, including the Rustons, which have not yet come out. I think it's Queen Anne is one of them, and there's a second one, I forget which one it is, but it's nice to see that those are still on the radar, I suppose. There's some nice photos of the Bellman Pullman train pack, which is coming along very nicely, and there's also the first photos of the latest Class 87s in the Stevenson and Royal Scott Geysers, which are looking pretty excellent as well. There's quite a lot of new stock at Hornby as well, including their latest Christmas train set. Here it is. Pretty cool, this one actually. I really enjoyed messing around with this one. If you want to check it out, I will include a link up there for you so you can look at it if you'd like to. They also have more Peckets in stock, and I do love the Peckett. The B4, of course, this one's mine. They also have the NCB blue version and also a green one, which I think is the Associated Portland Cement version. So three Peckett B4s in total now, and they all look excellent. I've been really tempted to get some more actually, but I'm trying to hold off because there's quite a lot of new products about to come out, and I don't want to have to miss them because I've spent all my money on Pecketts or something like that. Also, the Ruston 48DS shunters are now in stock, or rather the R&H pale green one is. The rest are apparently supposed to follow over the winter, which is good to hear, and they all come with a wagon as well, it's worth mentioning. Not just for decoration purposes, but the wagons actually help to pick up as well, so you get really good reliability on the track. I'm yet to try one of those so far, but I'm hoping to get one of the later versions because I've heard great things, and if you've got one, let me know down in the comments what they're like. I've heard that they're really, really good. Moving on from Hornby then and on to Hattons, who very excitingly have announced a brand new product, or rather a brand new range of product. More specifically, a whole range of 00 gauge Genesis 4 and 6 wheel pre-grouping coaches, which is suitable for a variety of different applications, including Great Western, LNWR, GNR, SECR, LMS, LNER and SR based variants. The list goes on really. Okay, so this is more or less exactly what modelers have been crying out for. Up until this point, there's been very, very few pieces of rolling stock suitable for many of our pre-grouping locos, such as, I don't know, the latest Terriers, the P classes, the H classes. You name it really, if they were around in the pre-grouping era, there's a good chance these new coaches from Hattons are going to be suitable for them. So there's a great deal of variation in real life, that is, between coaches of this type. And for Hattons, as I understand it, it would have been impractical to try and model each one individually. So instead, it sounds like they're combining many known elements of these coaches, the real life ones of course, from the different eras in question, which results in a great approximation of what these coaches might have been like. And of course it also allows so many of those different versions to be made rather than just sticking with SECR and GNR, which of course would be quite limiting for those of you who don't model those particular railways. And of course doing it this way results in a much more reasonable price as well. So the pricings aren't too bad actually. They're £30 each, or £36 for lighting, and I think that's quite good value actually. An extra £6 to have lighting pre-fitted, that doesn't sound too bad for me. Although there are packs of 4 that are going to be available for £110 each, which I think gives you about £10 off. And the packs of 4 include a mixture of the 4 and 6 wheel variants, depending on which version you get, of course. So looking at the prices there, you can see they're not dirt cheap. I mean, £30 for a relatively small coach isn't the cheapest price in the world. However, we can expect a great level of detail and quality for that price, which is exactly what you'd expect from Hattons, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Also, Hattons have revealed production samples of their latest intermodal wagons, which are supposed to be arriving before the end of the year. So again, if you want to check any of this stuff out, do check Hattons' website. I'll put a link in the description, in fact. And also there have been a brand new set of bargain bundles released from Hattons. You remember the Hattons bundles? If you don't, I will include a link up there, but I'm sure you've all seen one of the bundles I've looked at. They've released a new range of slightly more upmarket bundles this time, including Day at the Races, which is the cheapest one at £100. It includes this, the Caledonian Andrew Barclay. There you go, hopefully you can see that there, which is a really lovely loco, as you know, absolutely superb. And as well as the Andrew Barclay, you get a few pieces of rolling stock with that as well, and they range up to about £140 with, let's see, Wartime Workhorse, for example, which also includes 2 Warwell wagons as well as the loco. So lots of cool stuff going on at Hattons. Next up then, an incredibly major product announcement which only took place yesterday if you're watching this on Wednesday. Basically, Rails of Sheffield, in partnership with Locomotion Models of the NRM and with Dapol, have announced a brand new 00 gauge steam locomotive. And it is this, the Wainwright D-Class, which as you can see is a beautiful 440, pre-grouping of course from the SECR. They were introduced all the way back in 1901, and you can see just how gorgeous that loco looks. That's the real one of course, the preserved one at the NRM in York. In recent years, pre-grouping locos, specifically SECR pre-grouping locos, have of course been really popular. We've seen loads of fantastic models in the SECR green livery, and this promises to be the largest at the very least, and probably the most beautiful as well looking at it. So on offer is going to be 7 different versions of these, all in different liveries of course, including the SECR lined green, which is my personal favourite, a very fetching wartime grey, which I very much like as well. There's Southern Railways olive green, and a couple of BR black variants among others as well. And Dapol aren't even at the beginning of the production either. All of the CADs and in fact all of the toolings have already been completed, to the point where the first shots have been produced, as you can see here. In fact, take a look at this.
The model itself, you can see that we are actually at a very advanced stage. This is not a wish list model. The CAD is all complete, totally. The tooling is complete. And what you can see here is not a 3D render. This is actually the first shots from the tool. It's not a first EP, but it is an assembly of parts from the tooling. So we're not that far away from actually seeing it in realistic terms. For those of you who are in the industry, you'll understand that that process is necessarily lengthy, but we're pretty confident that we're going to be seeing this in Q3 2020.
So very exciting stuff to hear that the project has come so far already without us even knowing about it. Just to clarify though, those were indeed the first shots from the tooling, so obviously there's still some refinement yet to do, and I think that particular sample only arrived in the country on Thursday, so it's been assembled quite quickly. However, you can see just how fantastic it is looking. So during the press release, Andy from Dapol gave quite a good rundown of the model itself and some of its features. So it's going to feature a die-cast chassis and boiler, which is excellent. We're going to get a real weighty model, it seems, with a fair bit of pulling power as well. It is going to be sporting a 5-pole motor, which is exactly what you need, of course. It's going to have full tender pickups, including quite an innovative way to connect to the loco and the tender together quite easily and quite intuitively. In fact, you will just be able to push the two together and they will be connected electrically. There's no messing around, hopefully. There's no messing around with any annoying little plugs or anything like that, which is a huge thumbs up, of course. It's going to feature a toolless DCC decoder and speaker installation system, which again looks really intuitive. You literally pop off the smoke box door and pull out the circuit board and you can fit everything onto there. No screws required apparently, which is fantastic because of course when you're faffing around trying to unscrew loco bodies and taking the body off and finding out where the DCC decoder goes, that's where damage can occur, and there's none of that with this, which is fantastic. It's also going to have Dapol's trademark Firebox glow feature, which is very good, and a great deal of different variations depending, of course, on which version you buy. Now, the matter of price hasn't really been discussed too greatly yet. There isn't a fixed price at the moment. However, apparently there's an unofficial promise that the model will come under £200. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty there, especially with the financial climate in the UK at the moment. That is subject to change, but hopefully they say they are going to hope to bring this in under £200. Now, obviously, yeah, that is quite a lot compared with some of the models I normally review, but of course do consider the size of the loco compared with previous SECR locos, and consider the complexity of the SECR livery, among the others that they're doing, of course, and also consider the massive number of features that I've just read to you, as well as a lot more. I mean, take a look at this, for example. We've got the full depiction of the valve gear underneath the boiler there. So it's going to be a really impressive model. The only problem is we've now got to wait for the thing to actually be released, or perhaps before then, to see a few painted samples and things. but at the moment they are looking absolutely amazing. The estimated release date I think they said was Q3 2020, so it's not that long to wait, around a year roughly speaking. So if you want to find out more, I've included a link in the description, and I also got quite a lot more footage from the press release, so if you'd like to see some more of that, let me know in the poll. Would you like me to edit it together? And if the answer is yes, overwhelmingly, I will edit that together and show it to you. Next up then, a little update from Helghan, who have shown some samples of their latest batch of 00 Garretts, which are supposed to be coming out in Q1 2020. Now, what I'm going to say next might divide a few people, but there is one, I'll show you it now. It's called the Workshop Photographic Grey version, and I absolutely love it. I know some people won't, and that's okay, but just grey on a Steam Loco, especially such a monster of a Steam Loco, looks absolutely superb to me. Now, obviously, yeah, that is not really ideal for modelers wanting to depict, I don't know, run-of-the-mill Garretts at work on real railways, but it just certainly looks very eye-catching, doesn't it? And I think if I am to get one, I might actually go for that and just see how good it is to photograph. Basically, I think they were just painted into that livery so that they could be photographed and so that they would look better on camera. As I understand it, that's the way it is. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But yes, that was very, very interesting to me. Now, quite a lot of people have been asking me about these because some of the Helghan Steam Locos I've talked about in the past were quite disappointing, and they were saying, well, you know, should we even pay any attention to these? Well, frankly, I don't know. I've heard good and bad things about the Helghan Garretts. Of course, they look fantastic, but the previous batches did have mechanical issues. So many people say that, you know, theirs broke down or failed after an unreasonable amount of time. However, word is that they have had an upgrade on the chassis, or somebody told me that they've had a brand new chassis altogether. That might not be true though, because I can't find anything about that online. But if that is true, then chances are these will run a lot better. But who knows, if I get one to review it, then I'll be able to find out for sure. However, all I can say is that they look fantastic, don't they? Generally, Helghan Locos run okay. It's not the performance that is the problem normally. So provided everything is okay, they should be a thumbs up. And I'm looking forward to seeing those not too long to go if they really are due to be released in Q1 2020. So very exciting stuff. Next up then, a little bit of an update from Backman, because over the next month or so, or who knows, by the time this video goes out they might already be with us, but the latest batch of 03 diesel shunters is due to be arriving. Now these are priced at £124.95, which does seem quite expensive because as far as I can tell, the body that those models use has been around for a long time. It's the same one that we're all used to. However, word is that they do now have a new DCC ready chassis on them, which is much better, so it sounds as though they've done away with the old split chassis one, which is very good news. Whether or not that makes them worth £124.95, I'm not 100% sure, but you guys can let me know whether to try one, because I do like the look of them, so I'll put a poll up there. Think very carefully though before you get me into something like that. Apparently though, they do come pre-fitted with a speaker, whether or not you're going to fit them with sound, so the DCC ready versions come with the speaker, which is strange. I mean, what if you never want to fit sound? You've still got to pay for the speaker. So I found that a little bit odd. However, if you are someone who is going to fit it with DCC sound, and let's be honest, not that many people do. It's not as though every other person's going to be fitting it. But if you are one of those people, it is pretty handy, I suppose, at the very least. The sound versions are available as well. You can buy them with the sound decoder installed as well as the speaker for £219.95. But as always, those prices are a little bit lower if you go to the retailers. So over recent years there have been a lot of sad stories about old long-standing model shops which no longer can make ends meet and have had to close down. However, this month I got an email about a brand new model shop which is about to open, I think on the 19th of October. So this is Smith's Model Railways, which was established in 2018 by James Smith. I think to start with they were just selling on eBay, as a lot of us have in the past, but they've done so well that they're now able to open up a whole new model shop, which is really, really exciting news. So what they've done is they're going to be taking over an old model shop which has had to close. It was known, I don't know if you know it, as the Auto Loco Model Shop. The owner died unfortunately last year, I think, and it's been empty ever since. So they're going to be having the grand opening on the 19th of October, and they're going to be open 6 days a week, Tuesday to Sunday, and the address is 10 Station Road, Sheringham, NR268RE. So if you want to support a brand new model shop, or maybe just go and have a nosy and see what it's like, get yourself down there and see what's going on. Finally then, I've had an email asking me to mention the Tiny Trains Festival, which is going to be at the Elsecar Heritage Centre on the 4th and 5th of April 2020. It sounds as though it's going to be a really decent event. The reason I'm mentioning it now is that if you book straight away, you get 20% off on your entry fee, which is pretty good. And thank you very much to Ollie from Fox & Edwards for letting me know about that. So if you're looking for a model train fair of some sort in your local area, look that one up and see if you can make it. Either way, thank you very, very much for watching. That is all the news for this month. In fact, there's been a lot of news for this month. I haven't been able to fit it all in, but if there was something that I didn't mention and you think I ought to have done, do let me know down in the comments and I will consider that for next month. For the time being though, thank you all for watching. I hope you keep enjoying your modelling projects and I will see you again here very soon for some more videos. Take care of yourselves then folks, and I will see you very soon. Cheers everybody, take care.